Hi guys, I'm Jenny Martin, your clinical psychologist mentor for the 12-week challenge. I met some of you a few weeks ago. It is week 3. How are you going? I've heard you are all going awesome. I'm dropping in here today to talk to you about your negative self-talk habits, or as I like to call them, shitty self-talk. Now, we all know that self-talk is what we say to ourselves all day. It's that running dialogue in our head that keeps us on track and reminds us of what we need to do each day. But it's also our biggest critic. It can sometimes sabotage our goals and make us feel, well, shitty. Now, remember that the goal of our brain is to keep us safe and procreate, basically not to die. It doesn't care how many pull-ups we can do, how low our body fat is, how much time we've spent with our kids, or how we're going at work. All our brain essentially cares about is safety. So it stands to reason that shitty self-talk is supposed to be there to protect us and keep us safe by constantly reminding us of potential threats or people who may be faring better than us in perhaps like the tribe group. But too much of it is super detrimental and of course can lead to anxiety, depression, burnout and fatigue, as well as derailing us from kicking our goals in the 12-week challenge. So let's do a deep dive into the 4 main types of shitty self-talk that I help people with. The tips I'm going to give you today can be applied to the challenge, but also can be applied to life in general, and of course, long after the challenge is over, as we want your results to be long-lasting. So the first is comparing. Do you find that you are always comparing yourself to others? Are you always scrolling through social media and feeling that you come off second best, either in the looks department or body image or perhaps their lavish lifestyle? Or do you compare at the gym? Find it hard to be happy for someone when they achieve something? Comparison steals our joy as well as our well-being and our sanity. It can make us feel deflated, anxious, sad, and unmotivated. And we need to break that comparison cycle because it's a game. We'll never win. Did you know that we're actually biologically prone to compare ourselves to others? Our brain uses comparison to figure out how we measure up to other people. Kind of makes sense. A recent study on comparison found that upward social comparisons, comparing with people who have or do more than you, could elicit negative emotions, which in turn lowers individuals' self-esteem. Well, duh, I think that's no surprise, but I love that there is a study that actually does show that. So I want you to try these things. Practice gratitude. As soon as this is over, open the Notes app on your phone and type out 3 things you could be grateful for right now, and refer back to this list whenever you're stuck in comparisonitis. Tip 2. So I want you to stay in your own lane. Put your blinders on and focus on yourself only. You only need to compare yourself to how you were yesterday. And my number 1 tip, don't beat yourself up for comparing. We are hardwired to do this, to establish where we are in the pecking order so we don't get left by our tribe. We all do it. It's normal. But are you doing it more than you should? And is it having a detrimental effect on you? Try this. Compare yourself with others to be inspired, not to feel shitty. You know, no one else has had your life, your experiences, your tragedies, your opportunities, your upbringing, your traumas, your teachings, your highs and lows. So it stands to reason that comparing yourself to another person is actually fruitless. And it's not a fair comparison. Don't waste your precious energy doing this. If you must compare yourself to how you were yesterday, but always with compassion and wisdom. And always keep in mind what that person has done to get them to where they are today. Catastrophizing. Catastrophizing occurs when we assume the worst will come true. It typically involves a belief that one is in a more dire situation than normal. Most of the time, though, we mistakenly exaggerate the problems we're facing. Catastrophizing is similar to a snowball moving down a snowy mountain. It starts out with a small thought, which escalates into a larger thought, which then induces a state of panic. For example, you may jump on the scales and see that your weight's actually gone up, not down. Then you start to worry the challenge isn't working, and then you start to think you'll never get to your goal weight and you can never do anything about it, and you feel hopeless and helpless, and then devour a whole packet of Tim Tams, then feel super guilty. We've all been there. Try this. Take a deep breath. This will help you be less reactive and get things into perspective before you fly off the handle or overreact. Your brain is in fight and flight mode when you're catastrophizing. So to get to your more rational frontal lobe part of the brain, then breathing will help. Number 2, assess the situation once you've calmed down a little bit. Take a minute to ask yourself, how big of a deal is it, in the grand scheme of things? Ask yourself, will this matter to you 10 hours from now or even 1 hour? Is it worth getting upset over? Is it worth ruining your day over? And remember, scales are not everything. This happened to me the other day, and once I'd calmed down, calmed my body and my breathing down, I realized that what I was worrying about wasn't such a big deal and I could manage it. And here's my favorite way to turn off catastrophizing: exercise. Exercise can help reduce symptoms of anxiety and minimize external stress, which in turn may help you increase your resistance to that catastrophic thought. Number 3, shitty self-talk is perfectionism. Perfectionism is often defined as the need to be or appear to be perfect. It's typically viewed as a positive trait rather than a flaw. And a lot of people talk about healthy perfectionism. But Brené Brown, a writer and research professor at the University of Houston, distinguishes between perfectionism and healthy behavior. She says perfectionism is not the same thing as striving to be your best. Perfection is not about healthy achievement and growth. She explains that perfectionism is used by many people as a shield to protect against the pain of blame, judgment, or shame. So, what are some signs that you're prone to perfectionism? You procrastinate. Interesting. You get defensive when given feedback. You're an all or nothing thinker. It has to be perfect or it's shit. Or you're prone to feeling guilty. Or you don't show up at the gym because you're out of shape, even though you know that's how you get back in shape. Yep, I've been there too. Try this. Take stock. Look around and see how others accomplish similar tasks. Are they getting the job done well enough? Does your over-the-top attention to detail really count for much? If it takes up too much time or keeps you from completing things or causes too much stress. 2, relax your standards. I'm not saying half-ass everything, but maybe try not to do everything quite as perfectly and see what happens. You'll see that the sky doesn't fall in and that nothing bad happens when you relax a little. And number 3 is get real with your expectations. Stop comparing yourself to others, which obviously goes back to number 1, shitty self-talk, and allow yourself some slack when you put pressure on yourself. As long as you're feeling a sense of purpose and doing your best, you're doing fine. Try to focus on finding joy and meaning in the things you do rather than that perfect result. And lastly, repeat after me, finished is better than perfect, because perfect rarely gets finished. And the last but not least shitty self-talk that I want to talk to you about is procrastination. So, are you always racing the clock? Do you ride the edge of tension with deadlines and social engagements? Do you tell yourself you perform better under pressure? This is actually a shitty self-talk habit. Don't feel bad though, every single human on the planet struggles with this at some point, but eventually later becomes now, and sometimes it even becomes too late. Research has shown that people who describe themselves as chronic procrastinators also reveal higher levels of stress, anxiety, and even depression. Go figure. So, if you find yourself always giving into that lazy meh feeling of putting off the things you know you're going to eventually have to do anyway, the time is now, not later, to uncover why you keep leaving things till later, leaving you with feelings of failure and inadequacy. So, try these things. 1, recognize when you're procrastinating. If you start an important task only to stop immediately for a coffee break or put off doing something until you feel motivated to do it, or even pack your schedule with other easier but less important tasks than you'd rather do, then you're procrastinating. 2, dig deep to figure out why. Dreading something because it's hard work or not fun isn't the real reason why you keep putting off the things you need to do. Even those hard benchmark WODs or the beep test. Try to figure out what's behind the procrastination, because there's always something, and it's not because you're lazy. Remember, finished is always better than perfect, or ticking the box at abide is better than not coming at all. And number 3, work on anti-procrastination. First, forgive yourself for your previous procrastination patterns and work towards the get it done mentality that will help you overcome them. I have to do that all the time. Commit to your tasks, e.g. coming to the WOD. So create accountability by booking into the class and messaging a friend and making sure that they hold you accountable and encourage you to turn up at class. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope this was helpful to keep you smashing your goals, and I'll see you back in the gym for the second seminar in a few weeks' time. Mwah!